One of the fun things about making Empire at War mods has been the development of communities who don't just play the mod, but make and release their own mods for our mods, called submodding. Today we're going to talk a little bit about what submods are and how to use them. We'll go over some of the history of submodding and talk a little bit about what's out there. I'm going to focus on Empire at War Expanded submodding because that's what I work on and what I'm most familiar with, but submods also exist for other big mods like Awakening of the Rebellion, Remake, and so on. Submods are essentially when people take the existing mods and make a variety of changes to them, whether that's for personal use or a public release. These changes can range from simple modifications, like increasing the population capacity of space battles, to adding entirely new units, maps, or even factions. Submods have existed for as long as there's been full mods, but they really started to get more popular and develop into bigger projects about 10 years ago. Several of the current developers on Empire at War Expanded started off as submodders before getting absorbed into the team, integrating some of the work they did in submods into Empire at War Expanded itself. This was how, for example, Jorit, one of our longtime coders, joined the team after working on Corporate Sector Authority content before they were playable in Thrawn's Revenge itself. The same goes for Leo, who does most of our narrative campaign development. There are even some bigger mods which started as submods and then developed into their own standalone projects, like the Age of Legends mod series, which started as a submod for I think version 2.1 or 2.2 of Thrawn's Revenge before branching off and becoming its own thing. One of the biggest discoveries in making submodding more accessible came about 5 years ago, sometime after the Steam Workshop began supporting Star Wars Empire at War. One user, Templarnaut, discovered you could put multiple codes into the launch options for Steam and the game would load both of them. The code put in on the right would load first, and then the left one would overwrite it with any shared files. This allowed submods to be uploaded on the Steam Workshop without having to redistribute the entire mod they were submodding, which is both good for saving hard drive space and helps alleviate the potential issues of unauthorized redistributions of entire mods, which modders are generally not in favor of. So if we picture each file in a mod as one of these blue blocks, those get loaded normally. But then if a submod only changes one file, say factions.xml, where the popcap is stored, you can just have a submod which only includes that faction.xml file. Then if you load stmod equals fullmod first and cmod equals submod ID second, that file will override the original one. This is why you can technically use more than one submod, but as soon as they start modifying the same files, you'll start running into issues. If you have a third mod, for example one which changes the soundtrack used by each faction, something that's also in factions.xml, it's going to overwrite not just the original factions.xml file, but the second one as well. In some cases this may just mean that you don't notice certain changes you're expecting, but if there's a mix of files that are interreliant on each other, and you're loading one but not the other, you could start getting into issues with the game crashing or other bugs. All of this actually changed how we make the main mods themselves. Our development setup has essentially one main mod folder where all shared models, maps, and code are kept, with additional folders layered on top of that for specific content for each mod. We used to handle developing both Thrawn's Revenge and Fall of the Republic at the same time through a batch file that would go through and rename a bunch of files. It was a horrible mess. This works way better. This discovery, along with the proliferation of more accessible mod tools, and honestly people having a lot more time stuck at their computers during COVID, has spurred on a new generation of submodding. There are a few submods released either officially by the EAWX team and by individual developers who had ideas they wanted to see in the game, but which may not have fit into the mod as a whole, or which would otherwise require some later work to be done. One of these is the Shield Penetration submod, which allows bomber munitions to bypass shields like in the base game. This is the submod I'm using on my current Imperial playthrough on this channel, which you can watch by liking this video and subscribing for more. If you look at the Steam Workshop page for that submod, or for any others, you'll be able to subscribe to it as well, and then the code you need to run it is usually posted directly in the description, including all of the stacked codes. So all you need to do is copy and paste that into your launch options, and you'll be able to run the mod by launching Empire at War. Jorit, who I mentioned earlier as starting off as a submodder, still has a few submods he maintains for the EAWX mods. This includes a rescaled Home 1 type and TR to align with other sources, which puts the ship at 1300 meters, as well as a nebula with buff stats, and the origins of the custom GC mode, which has since been integrated into the main mods. The community has produced a ton of very popular submods as well. One of the most popular is a submod by Skeletor, or rather a set of submods, which adds a series of expanded galactic conquest maps, some of them north of 300 planets. Another submod by Green has taken advantage of the individual unit tracking added by Petroglyph in recent patches to allow for more individual instances of units with persistent damage per faction, something we'll actually be doing in the future for the main mod, in which Green has been nice enough to allow us to potentially use the code for to save us some time. There are some other submods which change more core game design and balance decisions, like allowing the respawn of killed heroes, or which add less common units into buildable faction rosters, or they add entirely new units, like Blue's submod for Fall of the Republic. I'm honestly not super familiar with the specifics of a lot of what individual submods do, certainly not to the point of making any insightful recommendations, since if I want to change something in the mods, I usually already have the means to do so, but if you use the search bar for submods on the workshop, you'll be able to find a variety of options to change up how you play most of your favorite mods. We also have a channel on our Discord server for discussing submods themselves, and there's a separate Empire at War Expanded submodding server. The channel on our server can also be a good place to get some help if you're looking to start your own submodding journey. I get a lot of requests for help to make personal changes to the mod, but I often don't have time to respond to them. So that channel is a great place to go with a lot of active members, sometimes including me, equally capable of helping point you in the right direction. Either way, I hope you found this look at submods helpful. Let me know some of your favorites in the comments. Maybe in the future I'll be able to do an actual spotlight on some of them. Thank you for watching, and I hope to see you next time.